Normally, boss fights in video games are crazy, exciting, and tough, but there are a few bosses that never got that memo. What is up, everybody? Chaos here. We're going to go over 10 of the easiest boss fights even a noob would never, ever lose. And in the comment section, let me know, what do you think the easiest boss at number 1 is going to be? Let's get into it. So jumping right into this list, at number 10 is 343 Guilty Spark in Halo 3. That's right, this is the climactic final boss fight of Halo 3, which, to be honest, spoiler alert, it was pretty underwhelming. Sure, it looked absolutely amazing, and it was definitely an emotional moment during battle with such an important character who had been in the series since the very beginning. But when you break it all down, the fight itself was actually pretty easy. 343 Guilty Spark kind of just sits there and shoots at you until you shoot it a couple times with the Spartan laser, at which point he dies. Yay, I guess. Now, thankfully, the sequence after this boss fight when you're escaping the planet is nothing short of awesome, and it makes up for how underwhelming the actual battle was. When you have a final boss, a legit final boss, he should be a little harder than this one. This month's giveaway is for a new PlayStation 4 console. All you have to do to enter is drop a like on this video, be subscribed to the channel, and turn on your notifications so you never miss an upload. And in the comment section, let me know why you want to win the PS4 and include your Twitter handle so I can contact you if you're the winner. The winner will be announced at the end of the month. Okay, at number 9, Mysterio in Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is an excellent game, and it's easily one of the best Spidey games ever made. Now, the new Spider-Man coming out, they may have something to say about that, but for now, we're going to stick with this one. The boss fight, though, well, it wasn't the high point of the game. Part of what made this game so good is the fact that it really made you feel like Spider-Man, but fighting Mysterio, not so much. It didn't really give us that feeling. You go into a convenience store where Mysterio starts proclaiming how powerful he is and how he's going to kill you, so on and so forth, at which point you run up to him. Are you ready? You punch him once, he falls over, and his entire health bar depletes. No, I'm being serious here. The iconic villain Mysterio goes down with a single punch. Now, to be fair, it wasn't actually Mysterio. It was just some wimpy thug posing as Mysterio, but it was still considered a boss fight, and it's a boss fight that even a noob could do. All you have to do is hit one button. So yeah. At number 8, Stay Puft in Ghostbusters 2016. This, now I know, this is a turd of a game, okay? It was released right alongside the 2016 reboot of the Ghostbusters series. Now, the Ghostbusters 2016 video game was a twin-stick shooter that had you going around various locations and shooting ghosts while listening to terrible jokes and experiencing tons of bugs. But when you reach the final boss fight with the iconic Stay Puft Man, assuming you've even played the game that long, assuming you've ever even played this game, because hopefully you didn't spend any money on it, you're probably going to notice something wrong with his programming. If you go up to the corner of the screen, Stay Puft literally can't and won't hit you, so you can just pump into him while he sits there and does absolutely nothing to fight back. Great programming, and I know you could consider it a glitch, a cheat, whatever, and most people, they want the challenge, they want to do it right, but there's just something about this iconic boss, and you just standing there and him not being able to touch you, it's wrong. Now we're going to go way, way back, and in the comments section, I want to know if you have truly ever fought Bowser in the original Super Mario Bros. I'm willing to bet that a lot of you actually haven't. This is one of the most iconic boss fights in gaming history, hands down, but I'm not going to tell you it's any challenge, okay? You face off against Bowser many times in the original Super Mario Bros., but the first time is actually pretty underwhelming. I'm sure you guys know the drill. He appears, you jump over him, you pull the lever, which you don't even have to hit a button to pull, you just run up over it, and the bridge falls down with him on it, and the fight is over. Now, I love this fight, and it did a lot for gaming, but it was pretty easy, I'm not gonna lie, but it did set the stage for boss fights in the future. Sticking with the Mario theme, let's talk about Bowser Jr. in the new Super Mario Bros. Wii. If you thought the fight with Bowser was easy, which, now there's an excuse there. That's the NES, it's old school, we were still learning. This one doesn't have as much of an excuse. Wait till you get a load of his kid in the series reboot from 2009 on the Wii. Bowser Jr. shows up in his fancy aircraft and starts dropping things on you, but all you have to do is just step out of the way, let the stuff bounce back at him until he actually dies. That's right, you don't even have to hit this guy. He will kill himself, and it's insanely easy to do because of how slow all his projectiles are. Bowser Jr. definitely isn't living up to his dad's reputation, but to be fair, okay, his dad's rep isn't exactly what was intimidating to begin with. At number 5, and there are some hard bosses in the Sonic series, okay, but Drill Robotnik in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is not one of them. The first boss battle of every single Sonic game is usually the easiest. However, the first boss fight of Sonic 2, well, it was too easy. Sonic 2 was released for the Sega Genesis in November of 1992, and it was a huge hit. It ended up being the second best-selling game for the console, and many still consider it to be the best game in the entire series. Now, the first area of Sonic 2 is Emerald Hill Zone, a very cool section that will likely remind you of Green Hill Zone from the original Sonic, if you've ever played these. When you finally reach the end and that iconic Sonic boss fight music kicks in, you get yourself ready to do battle with the evil Dr. Robotnik while he's in a car with a drill at the end of it. Now, the Doctor just drives back and forth across the screen until you jump on top of him a few times, and then the fight is over. I know the first boss fight is supposed to be easy, but somebody didn't get the memo that there should be a little challenge when it comes to it with this game. At number 4, the Didact in Halo 4. The final boss fight in Halo 4 was so insultingly easy that a lot of people were actually pretty pissed off about it. Halo 4 was the first game in the series to be developed by, yes, 343 Industries, and they made a lot of changes to the gameplay. Halo 4 was the first mainline Halo game to have sprinting, hit markers, and even quick-time events, and it didn't exactly make fans happy when they found out that the main villain, the big bad dude of the game, the Didact, dies in a single hit during the final boss fight. In fact, it's barely even a fight at all. It's really just a quick-time event where Master Chief runs up to him, you press left trigger, and he shoves a bomb into his chest, which, in essence, kills him. Not exactly epic, not exactly climactic. I mean, it's just, when you have a final sequence of a Halo game, you expect better. At number 3, did you ever fight Bob the Killer Goldfish in Earthworm Jim? This one makes a good amount of sense because there's really only so powerful a goldfish can be. Earthworm Jim is a classic run-and-gun game released for the Sega Genesis in 1994, and it was popular enough to get a sequel in 95 and a remake in 2010. You played, of course, as Earthworm Jim, who has a big robotic suit and uses it to fight crime in an over-the-top parody of superheroes. The game is pretty fun. It's pretty funny, too, but one of the boss fights is one of the most insanely easy ones in history that it's actually hilarious. When you come face-to-face with Bob the Killer Goldfish, a big, dramatic fight flashes across the screen like Mortal Kombat, and then he dies with one hit without ever fighting back. At number 2, Cloud and Candy in Yoshi's Story. This side-scrolling platformer was released for the Nintendo 64 in 1997, and it was fun. It was lighthearted. It was an adventure game starring one of Mario's sidekicks. It was the sequel to Yoshi's Island, but featured more puzzles than the first game, making it slightly more difficult. But this boss fight definitely did not represent this very well. When you face off against Cloud and Candy, it's a giant hunk of cotton candy who just jumps around the screen, and guess what? You lick him to death. I'm serious. The first thing he says to you is, "Bet you can't lick me," and then you lick him to death, and the whole fight is over in about 20 seconds. Mario games, they're not known for having great boss fights, but I mean, come on, a giant ball of cotton candy and you have to lick him to death. And at number 1 today, you guessed at the beginning of the video, let's see if any of you got it right. The leader in the Incredible Hulk 1993. There really haven't been that many games based on the Hulk, and those that we have gotten over the years haven't been that great. One of the better Hulk games, though, was the Incredible Hulk for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, which was released in 1994, and it was a side-scrolling beat-em-up where you played as Bruce Banner, trying to track down the evil villain known as the Leader, who some of you may remember from the comics. However, when you finally reach him in the final level, you may not even notice that it was supposed to be a dramatic fight. You come face-to-face with the Leader, who just stands there and does nothing and dies in a single hit. I'm serious. In fact, it's unclear if this was intentional or if it was all due to a bug in the programming, but the final boss fight of the game literally dies in a single hit and doesn't move or fight back in the slightest bit. That, to me, is more than deserving of the number 1 spot on today's list. And there you have it, my friends. Those are some boss fights that even the noobiest noob of video games should be able to handle with no problems. Let me know the easiest boss you have ever squared off against in a video game. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like on the video, make sure you're subscribed, take a second, and fight the boss that is YouTube and turn on those notifications so you never miss an upload. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.